This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Say PTBN, have you heard them yet? Oh, but they're so marked out. Jenny and the Jams. Oh, but they're weird and they're wonderful. Oh, Jenny, she's really green. She's got electric boobs, the network too. You know I read it in the dirt. She's a hoe. Jenny and the Jams.
Place to Be Nation. Hi, welcome to Jenny and the Gems, our hidden gem show. My name is Jenny. Let me tell you about some of our gems. You might know him from the Place to Be podcast, the original PIC, Scott Criscuolo. How are you doing tonight?
I hope, my dear, that you and I are as lucid as we were a few nights ago for the last time you and I did a show.
I hope we were way more lucid than that.
Yeah.
That was a shit show.
Well, if this goes as long as one of the matches does, we probably won't be. Yeah, but anyway, it is a pleasure as always to be with you. I'm happy to be a gem. I'm honored.
One of our very newest gems, you might have heard on the Place to Be podcast and on the previous episode of this show where we talked about the Crockett Cup. His name is Matt Souza. How you doing, Matt?
Good. How are you? I got my boogie shoes on. I'm sitting in Boogie Wonderland, and I'm ready to go.
Let's boogie.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. We are going to boogie with our next gem. His name is Drew Wardlaw. How are you doing, Drew?
Doing just fine. I had my beard shaved by an assassin, but that's all right. I'm ready to come back.
You know, it occurred to me as I was introducing you, I was trying to pimp your show, and then I forgot the name of it. So I'm doing really
that's all right.
good. So it's You Don't Know Billy Jack.
That's true, yeah.
Yes, there you go. Consider your show pimped. All right, so one of the most recent hidden gems on the WWE Network was a little show from 1984 called Boogie Jam, which is the best show name I've ever heard in my life. And so that dropped a couple 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
Have you guys heard of any of the matches on this card or seen any of this stuff before, Scott?
I knew of this show just from history and from like past. They refer to it on the Mid-Atlantic episodes, which I'm actually watching right now. One of my watching days. I'm into early '84. On Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. So they do refer to it, and one of the matches is actually very well documented, which we'll get into. It's actually on a very well-known compilation DVD. So I'd heard of the show, but clearly this is probably the first time this has ever been on anything ever. So this is indeed like a true hidden gem. So I have heard of the show, but I thought I'd never see it. So this is actually pretty cool.
What about you, Drew?
Yeah, like Scott, I had heard of the show. I've seen a good amount of the '84 Mid-Atlantic TV, and so they talk it up a lot on the show. And I actually wasn't sure because I know there was a DVD released with one of the matches, but I thought it was a different match from 1984. So, but I hadn't seen that. So, yeah. I hadn't seen anything from here, but I had heard of it.
What about you, Matt?
Yeah, same. I had heard of the show, and I had seen the match that was on the comp that came out like 10 years ago. But it's another one of those things where you never think a full show like this is going to see the light of day, right. And then it pops up on the network one day. It's like pretty cool.
All right, so obviously the answer for me is no. I haven't heard any of this or seen any of this. So at least most of y'all are kind of in my same shoes for a lot of these matches, which I appreciate because I'm usually don't have that. Hi. All right. So here we go from March 17th, 1984, the Greensboro Coliseum in North Carolina. So there's no commentary on the show. There's very little production. It's pretty raw when it comes to this stuff.
I always thought it was odd that, and I said that I watched another hidden gem, maybe something we could look at down the line. There's a Georgia Championship Wrestling show that's in the hidden gems from earlier, actually earlier than this, the tail end of '83. Georgia Championship Wrestling did a show. Didn't have a fancy name like Boogie Jam. They're not as creative in Georgia. But sorry, Nick and Chad. But they did the same thing. It was I think it was at the Omni, and I think Flair. It was like 2 weeks after Starrcade. I think Flair defended the belt against Tommy Rich, which actually was not that great a match, believe it or not. I think the best match of that card was like Jake Roberts and Pez Whatley for, I think it was the Georgia TV title. But I always wondered why they take the time to put cameras out and don't bother bringing anybody to commentate. I mean,
Yeah.
your boy Tony was a relative rook in Mid-Atlantic at this point. You don't think they truck him out to Greensboro to do this by himself?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind listening to Shivani by himself for 2.5 hours. Hell yeah. So I don't understand why they wouldn't just bring a guy to do anything. If you're going to waste time with cameras, why not just have a commentary table? I don't get it. It's like half-assed. I don't know. I always thought that was odd.
Did maybe they just document it for just to have a hard copy of the shit? Like, not really that interested in somebody talking over it.
Maybe they used it for video and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I think what they would do, at least for like the Mid-Atlantic stuff, is they would film it and then occasionally show clips of various things. It doesn't seem like a very efficient way to do it if you're going to film 2.5 or 3 hours of stuff and then only show one clip of Ric Flair walking out of the dressing room.
Yeah, true.
But I think that's the reason. And then like the Omni stuff, like the last Battle of Atlanta show, it's just a hard cam and that's it. And I think I want to say I heard, and don't quote me on this because it could be total nonsense, but I think it was like the Omni just always filmed everything with that hard cam.
I think you're right. I've heard that too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but I mean, I don't know, if it was just for posterity's sake or what. I don't know. It does seem like a strange bit of foresight to have, like in an era where a lot of people didn't care about documenting things or didn't think about documenting for the future, that there just happens to be all of this stuff filmed. So yeah, I don't know.
The camera work is quite unique in this show, and it comes into play several times, delighting me or irritating me, and depending on the match. So like they just have the camera set up like way the fuck up, and people are walking in front of it for the first like minute and a half, like finding their seats. Which was good because you got to see a lot of like 80s hairstyles and fashions, which we always enjoy. And then we get a pretty great opening anthem by Ron Swift, the trumpet player.
You look like he was like 12. Yeah, the greatest moment of his life.
How did he get this gig is what I want to know.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe Tom Miller went out scouting the local high schools for the bands.
A young boy to play a trumpet on our show.
I think the last thing anybody wanted to see, at least the Greensboro police, is Tom Miller skulking high schools. he's not exactly the excuse me with his friggin' I need a trumpeter.
A trumpeter. All right.
For a one-song performance.
Speaking as a trumpet player, he did a hell of a job. It sounded really good.
Yes, he did.
Nothing kicks off a wrestling show like a trumpet. I
know,
always
right? Yeah.
Should have taken up.
Either that or pyro. Either one.
Yeah. Well.
Same thing. So what we get for our opening match, the surprising match of Tully Blanchard versus Dory Funk Jr. So I'm not a play-by-play kind of host. So what I'm going to do is tell you my surprising thoughts during this match. Wow. Why does everybody love Dory Funk Jr. so much? Like, he's super over with this crowd. Why?
First time in ever.
Me why. And I'm being quite honest with you guys, I didn't know who was who to begin with, because there's no graphics, and the cameras suck. So I'm like,
Dory Funk wished he had that luscious hair of Tully.
No.
The first time Dory Funk has ever been mistaken for someone under the age of 60.
It's the most flattering thing that's ever been said about Dory Funk.
Dory Funk's life right now.
Well, you know what? I'm just going to be real honest. I fucking love this match. I thought it was fun as hell. The crowd was into it. It was just inexplicable. Like, Dory seemed like, let's just get this over with. But then, like, he did it in a way that was really compelling for me. Am I wrong? Did anybody else like this match?
I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Yay, because I felt like I was being totally weird when I was so into it.
No, it was awesome. A big part of it. So first of all, I think the big thing about Dory is that he is a former NWA champion, and I mean, even in 1984, he was already a legend, and so I think that's where the big reaction came from. But also, Tully Blanchard. I mean, he really makes the match work, because I do like Dory, but he's not the most exciting force of nature in the wrestling ring. But Tully would, you'd get a uppercut from Dory, and Tully would bounce all the way outside of the ring and onto the floor. So him cheating at every turn, bumping like a madman, all that stuff. That's really what made me like the match.
So you didn't confuse him with Dory Funk at any point?
In fact, I did not.
No, all right.
Yeah.
What about you, Scott?
Dory, I think, well, first off, based on what I've been watching, Tully's only been in Crockett for maybe 3 months, pretty much from the start of the year, because I'm in late December, literally the last episode of 1983, and he's not there yet. So yeah, he's really brand new.
He comes in, I think, maybe even beginning of March or something like that. So I mean, it's really, really new for him.
Yeah, no, he's been obviously spent most of his time in San Antonio in his dad's promotion. Him and Gino Hernandez had a killer tag team down there. So the area kind of knew him already, and they knew he was a tremendous heel. And Gary Hart was his manager, and that would change. No, not Gary Hart. Paul Jones. I'm sorry, Paul Jones.
Paul Jones.
We get to see Gary Hart in a very luscious outfit later. Paul Jones, who's probably the number one manager in the company at the moment, at least for the next year, until somebody else comes in. He's crazy over. Dory, in all seriousness, we talk about him, and I goof today like greatest pop he ever got in his life. But the reality of it is he'd been feuding with Paul Jones probably since October. I've been watching the weekly shows, and he was feuding with he was in Paul Jones' promotion with Jake and, oh, Jesus Christ, who else was in there? A couple other guys. And he got dumped after losing like a 6-man tag, and Dory like flipped out on him. So he had actually been pretty over as a face in the territory for probably about 6 months at this point, or 5.5 months. So as much as we were goofing about the pop, I personally was not surprised, because I knew what was going on in the company with him at the time. Obviously, at this point in Dory's career, he's just putting over guys left and right, obviously. Mm-hmm. So I knew, even without looking at the card on Graham's website, historywwe.com, by the way, that Tully was going to win. But I knew Dory was going to work his ass off, and Tully was going to bump like a son of a bitch, because he's just fucking great at it. And it was a lot of fun. It was a good opener, good slot on the card. I wouldn't have put this probably anywhere else. And no, I liked it. I don't think it's very abnormal. Tully, or I should say, Dory is not a boring worker, believe it or not. And watching a lot of the matches on the weekly TV over the last like year and a half, from mid '82 till now, he had great storylines. He was Mid-Atlantic champion for a while, and he was doing money and stuff. He was trying to bet $10,000 if guys could beat him. So he was actually having some moderately decent storylines. So not surprised that he got a pop here, and not surprised this match was good. I enjoyed it a lot. It was a good way to start the show, and obviously the right guy went over, and Tully, obviously more great things will come from him as the year progresses.
All right, what about you, Matt?
Yeah, same. I thought it was a really good way to open the show, and like you mentioned, Scott, probably the only match that really should have opened it. I thought kind of a slow pace to it to start, but I thought, it ended up being really good by the end of it. And Dory was hitting some sick-looking European uppercuts to Tully.
Yes, he was.
Disgusting stuff. But, yeah, fun match, and the crowd was just ridiculous through the whole match. And pretty much through the whole night, we'll see as we go along. They were on fire through the whole night.
Yeah, yes. This crowd is like one of my most favorites that I've ever heard. I mean, they were so, like, nobody was ringside, really. I mean, they were so far away from the ring, so it was just really odd.
And they were hot for matches that really didn't deserve it either.
Yeah, like maybe perhaps this next one.
Bingo.
The next one is Ernie Ladd versus Rufus R. Jones. All right, so they get checked for weapons to start with, which I kind of enjoyed. I was hoping he would find something, pull something out. I don't know. Yeah, this was rough for me. I did enjoy Rufus hamming it up quite a bit. It was kind of like Dusty level extra with the strutting and pandering. It looked like Rufus got shanked at one point. What?
Yes, he did. You're right.
What the fuck was that?
A foreign object.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what? It looked like a fucking knife.
Plastic knife from catering or something.
Borrowed by Abdullah. Yeah.
I was delighted by that, but otherwise, I wasn't really feeling this one. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, to coin a scientific term, this was hot trash.
Yeah. I was trying to be nice, but you're right.
No, I won't be.
Okay, good.
The crowd was good for it, which all the credit in the world to them, because this was rough. Ernie Ladd hits a big boot that I think set wrestling back 30 years. One of the worst big boots I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So bad. And how old was Ernie Ladd here? Was he like 60?
Gotta be.
He was old.
He had to have been, because, I mean...
He also had a lot of knee problems, though.
Did he?
Yeah.
The one thing I saw was Rufus hits him with a punch at one point that Ernie Ladd sold pretty well, and that was pretty much the highlight of it. That's all I got. Bad match, but the crowd was hot for it.
Yeah, why? This crowd was on something. I don't know. I'm not. I like this crowd, but they're not right. You know what I mean?
They're a little touched. They're saying.
I think that's probably why I like them, because I'm weird like that. But
they found the good drugs in Greensboro that night.
I mean, somebody did.
There's shit growing in somebody's backyard. If I may, watching the weekly TV, Rufus Jones, Ernie Ladd had just gotten here. I'm watching the tail end of 83, and he just got here. He'd been in Mid-South for most of 82. He was managing the Samoans. And then he vanished for a while. I think he had surgery. And he came back, and he was I thought he was a babyface. I don't know who the hell I'm assuming Rufus had been a babyface for most of 83. As a matter of fact, he was Mid-Atlantic champion. And then he lost to, somebody. He lost to somebody. And so he had been around, but at this point, I don't know what the fuck he was still with the company for. He was horribly out of shape. He did kind of do he does some effective Dusty shucking and jiving. So I will give him that. He's a good shucker and jiver. But this match is garbage. Ernie Ladd, by the way, I'm trying to do the math here. He was born in November of 38. So if it was November of 83, what would he have been? 30. Oh, fuck. He's like 40. He was in his mid-40s.
Yeah.
Oof.
40 going on 80.
Yeah, Jesus. I don't know what the deal was. I mean, he was breaking down at this point. I honestly would not have probably put this match on the card. I think, believe it or not, Rufus was still kind of over in this territory. So, as awful as the match was, it was a cheap pop. This was, again, just like the first match, probably the best spot to put this on. I wouldn't have put this any further down, or else you would have totally murdered the crowd. Yeah, it wasn't good. Again, Rufus is a shucker and jiver. He panders to the crowd, does a few moves here and there, and everything's fine. But yeah, there was nothing much more here.
All right, we all agree.
I don't.
You don't?
5 stars, Drew.
I had a feeling about you, Drew. I was trying to get by, but what you got?
Drew wants to shuck.
Yeah, so first of all, yeah, so Ernie Ladd was in the company. Rufus R. Jones was too. Rufus had started calling out Ernie Ladd, and the big thing, and it kind of happens after this, but he wants a TV match with Ernie Ladd, and so he offers him $1,000 for a match on TV. He wants the whole world to see him beat Ernie Ladd on TV, and so Ernie Ladd goes up and steals $1,000 from him. And then they have a brawl in the ring. Then so they brawl as the TV goes off. So I don't know if they ever actually had. I'm sure they did, but that I haven't seen if they ever actually had a singles match. But I love Ernie Ladd. He's awesome. Scott, I know you've watched a good amount of the Mid-South stuff.
Yes. Yep.
But I mean, he's and he's real limited, and he's got he moves slowly and all that, but just the way he portrays himself as a heel is pretty great. And even in this, he gets in the ring and the whole crowd's booing him and he raises his arms and he's celebrating, he's cheering, or the crowd's cheering him or whatever. But and then there's the spots when Rufus is making his comeback and Ernie's trying to hold out his hand to shake it and all that stuff. I think that's great. But what's awesome about this match is it builds to Ernie taking one bump. And it's that big bump off the punch. And he goes flying upside down into the ropes. Mm-hmm. And then is just he's leaning upside down on the ropes. Mm-hmm. That's great. I love that stuff.
So I did like really that part. I will give you that part.
Yeah.
That boot you're talking about, Jenny, was like Diesel 95 epic whiffing boot. I mean, that was
it was horrible.
That was fucking boot. Horrendous. That was rough six jacks and a spleef boot. I mean, that was just unwatchable shit.
You could almost hear his hips cracking.
Yeah, you could actually hear the arthritis grind.
God.
Jim Crockett's in the suite going, "Fuck life insurance."
Could hear the creaking going on.
Yeah, that was like, how high could you lift your leg without fucking getting osteoporosis? But
he almost took him a lot to get past the shins. Never mind his face.
Yeah, it's like the sweet shin music there. See, even the baby doesn't like it.
Yeah, the baby knows what's up, Drew.
The baby probably has a higher. Yeah, no, this was, but I agree. In Drew's defense, Ernie Ladd is historically one of the great workers and characters of all time. But at this point, he was in essence a manager. I'm assuming Crockett just brought him in to kind of float a little scratch his way just to do this, because I mean he had no. And again, all respect to Drew's comments, and he's spot on about the essence of Ernie, but he had no business being in the ring. He really didn't, even by his mid-40s, which, I mean, again, we're talking 2019, Chris Jericho just won the AEW title at 48. But, I mean, Ernie Ladd is not Chris Jericho. He had the body of a 90-year-old. But, I mean, obviously this was a cheap pop for Rufus, who was crazy over, believe it or not, Jenny, as probably talentless as he was at this point, he was over with these Greensboro-ites. And but Ernie is a great character. Drew's right, but he should never be in the ring at this point.
All right. Well, speaking of old dudes, moving on to the next match, we have Wahoo McDaniel and Mark Youngblood, who I am familiar with, actually, the tag champs versus Don Ker-noodle and Bob Orton Jr. with a first appearance of Gary Hart. Okay. So, Don Ker-noodle. Somebody chat me up about this guy, because he looked like a poor man's Arn Anderson.
He should be called Don Ker-noodle.
Ker-noodle. That's what I call him. That's his name.
He is a noodle.
Yes.
Don Ker-noodle.
Noodle.
The noodle. You should have that on his fucking tights.
The noodle.
Noodle.
The noodle canoodle.
The noodle canoodle. Don Ker-noodle was he was mostly Mid-Atlantic. He was with Sergeant Slaughter's Cobra, whatever the fuck they were called at that point, Cobra Command or whatever the hell it was. Mm-hmm. And him and Slaughter actually had a fairly healthy reign as NWA Tag Team Champions in most of '82 into early '83.
Yeah,
and
into '83.
Yeah, and they were feuding with Mark Youngblood's brother Jay. I don't know if they were real brothers. They looked alike, so I'm assuming they were. And Ricky Steamboat. And I think they won the strap. Yeah, they did. They won the straps in like March or April, and then Slaughter bolted for Up Here. As they say in these parts, Mr. Souza, New York. And
that's right.
So he was gone, and then Ker-noodle kind of floated around a bit, and he was pretty much gone for most of '83 until we get here. But believe it or not, Jenny, he's fairly well known. Shitty hair aside, I mean, Arn Anderson does not. I mean, no one can compare with the greatness of Arn Anderson's hair compared to this fucking whatever this dead whatever animal that Drew's got in Southern California. Coyotes or raccoons. Skunks. No, the skunks are the skunks up here. The Dory skunks are up here.
Dory skunk.
But I'm making a fucking. I'm calling Barbershop Window. We're getting a Dory Skunk Jr. T-shirt made. So Ker-noodle was kind of known here, but he had vanished for a decent hunk of '83. Again, I haven't dived into '84 Mid-Atlantic yet, so I don't know TV wise when he started coming back. He was actually. I was talking about that Georgia show in December '83. He was on that show. And of course, back in those days, they all traded with each other, talent and shit. So even jobbers. So Ker-noodle was probably working Georgia in late '83 and probably bopped back up north to the Carolinas. So there's Mr. Noodle for you.
All right. Well,
shitty. Oh, he's a noodle.
Yeah. He grew on me, but what everybody else, in the opposite of the previous match, Wahoo had some fire left still in him. He was pretty badass, I thought. Even though poor Mark took all the fucking bumps like a champ, I still liked Wahoo a lot. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I liked this one too. I'm pretty easy to please, I guess. But so Ker-noodle, he came back with when he started teaming with Bob Orton, and so through '84 they were feuding and trading the title back and forth with Wahoo and Mark Youngblood. So there's a lot of they're with Gary Hart, and there's a lot of with Gary Hart's stable. There's a lot of giving titles to other people within the stable, and kind of pretending to be champions when they're not, and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, Don Ker-noodle is awesome. Scott, you mentioned the feud with Jay Youngblood and Steamboat, but I mean that final conflict cage match and that whole feud. There was a compilation. Yep. There's a compilation of at one time of the whole feud, and it's so awesome. I mean, Don Ker-noodle, good squash match wrestler too, because he's real rough looking and pretty stiff in the ring. So him and Slaughter would just beat up jobbers, and then I mean everything leading to that final conflict, including the final conflict itself, is pretty great. And this was just a pretty standard, nothing spectacular, but stiff chop from Wahoo. Good hot tag to Mark Youngblood.
Mm-hmm.
He does that really good. They call it the war dance on TV. So that really good war dance hot tag thing, and this was cool. Bob Orton Jr. kind of was forgotten about in this match for me, but he held his own fine, I guess. Yeah.
What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, same as Drew. I like this quite a bit, actually. The great hot tag to Youngblood, and Wahoo gets cut open after being thrown into the ring post. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, he gets
wow.
he gets thrown into the ring post, and he gets cut open pretty good.
Wow.
And just the last few minutes was turned into really wild brawl, and just really fun stuff. And was this had to be near the end for Bob Orton in NWA, right? Wasn't he by the end of '84 in WWF already?
Yeah, I was just checking now. I'm going to look down and see when it says because I mean, he's obviously with Piper by February of '85.
Right.
He definitely. I'll look it up.
I want to say because I think he wrestles on the undercard for the Wendy Richter Moolah title match at the Garden. I'm pretty sure he wrestles on that in summer of '84.
And that's what, July 23rd.
That was July.
Yeah, he's done by May.
Oh,
or he into May. He goes into May, but that's it.
Yeah, I'm taking a look on. We'll keep going, but I'm gonna take a look on Graham's site to see if there's actually a note that he puts about Orton's last match. But
let's see. I've got his last match. I've got. According to Cage Match, it's against the Great Kabuki, 5/29/84, and he's under a mask as the Invader.
You said 5/29?
Yeah.
Is that at the Meadowlands?
Meadowlands, yes.
I'm looking at that card now. Let me see.
Oh, you know what?
Who's he wrestle?
He wrestles Great Kabuki, and that's actually the Night of Champions show.
Interesting. Because I have it. Graham has Invader number. We'll keep looking this up, but anyway, he has Invader number 1.
Let's do that off air. How about we talk about this match?
We want to talk about Jose Gonzalez, even though no, we don't.
Right.
No.
If we can double back to Rufus R. Jones and Ernie Ladd for a minute.
God, if Ernie Ladd was still with the company by middle of '84, then fucking Crockett's in a lot of trouble. But
Scott,
anyway,
did you like this match?
I actually did. I love this match. Mark Youngblood came in later '83, and I don't know where he came from, but I enjoyed this match a lot. I love Wahoo. He's a grizzled veteran. He always puts over anything, whether it's a feud or a storyline. I enjoyed this match a lot. I love watching Bob Orton. I think, once again, he's one of those guys that you got to watch him in other promotions and not in the WWF. WWF Orton with the cast and everything is a fun character with Piper, but he's really a good wrestler. And I remember chatting with Orton at a convention, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. And I used to tell him, I'm like, listen, I just want to let you know that I was a big fan of yours with Piper and WWF, but I got to admit, I liked watching you in other territories. I feel like you wrestled more. Did you feel that way? And he kind of said, yeah, I feel like, Vince loved the cast storyline, but I enjoyed wrestling. Crockett was a lot of fun. So, and he was in Mid-South too. So it's fun to see a lot of these guys when you grew up like me with pretty much WWF for a decent hunk of the 80s. To see them somewhere else is fascinating, and I'm a big Orton mark in that aspect. But this is a fun match. But I love Wahoo. He's like an all-time guy when it comes to just putting shit over. And this crowd, to their credit, I don't know what Rufus Jones was passing out, but they didn't ease up the whole night.
Oh.
So I got to give him props for that because it was a long night ahead. But a fun match. No, I enjoyed it a lot. And I like, and Mr. Noodle does the best he can with about the most nondescript, nothing gimmick ever. Just guy with bad hair, pretty much. He's not a Flair cousin like Arn and all the rest of them were. We're not going to make you a cousin just because you have shitty hair.
Guy with dead possum on head. There's your gimmick. Go out there.
SoCal Coyote. Anyway, fun match though. The only thing that perplexed me, and I don't know if it was because they booked it late. Why didn't Wahoo and Mark Youngblood defend the straps in this match?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot that was on the title.
Why a huge card like this? You don't have you don't put the titles up. That was bizarre, but anyway, maybe it was the whole Busters thing, like it's SummerSlam '89. I don't know, but anyway, they won anyway, so it didn't matter. But obviously, putting the titles on the line would have added a little bit more intrigue. But great match, regardless. Very good.
Speaking of bizarre, our next match has. Oh God! All right, so we got Angelo Mosca, Daddy Angelo Mosca, and Junior Angelo Mosca. Can I call him that? All right, I'll call him that. With the Junkyard Dog, okay, versus Gary Hart, the Great Kabuki, and Ivan Koloff. What? What? Why are we doing this? This is like it's so funny to me. Like it's just like they drew out of a hat. Like you 6 guys are doing this shit, and it felt so random. But I actually ended up really liking this match. Great Kabuki has nunchucks, so that was fun. That was confusing at first, but they started off real hot. It's fast-paced, athletic, kind of the opposite of what we've seen so far with kind of older dudes and their slow plodding paces at times. Junkyard Dog is a stud, ain't he? I liked him a lot. Yeah. He was fun to watch. And Daddy Mosca, too. I kind of became a fan of his. He was fighting like he was defending his son's honor. So I actually enjoyed this quite a bit, including the post-match chain beating. Anybody else like this match?
I did.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah,
but we can't move any further until we mention the singlet that Gary Hart was wearing. Holy crap! What the hell? Leaving precious little to the imagination between that and the color. And it said Chicago on the leg?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, why? Was he borrowing someone else's tights? What happened?
That's what it looked like, for sure.
I mean, was he trying to put over the fact that he's he was making fun of the, I don't know, Greensboro hillbillies or something? I mean, he's from the city.
Yeah, cheap heat. Yeah, he's a city boy.
I didn't get that.
So he was making fun of Greensboro by way of Chicago?
Yeah, by stretching his purple junk? I don't know. What the fuck? Here, everyone, here's my Chicago junk. Jammed in a fucking singlet that's 5 sizes too fucking small.
It's like a literal eggplant emoji.
You'd see his Moscas, for God's sake.
The ugly Moscas.
Daddy Moscas.
Good you know who he looked like? Purple singlet aside, he looked like Sam Losco from the Trailer Park Boys. If you guys are familiar with that show.
Oh my God, that's a good one.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, I thought the match was. That's pretty much all I wrote was about his friggin' singlet. But I thought it was fine. Not much, but fine enough.
What's funny, Jenny, is you actually hit the nail right on the head because I think it was in October, May. No, it was after Starrcade, so it was probably late November. If I remember correctly, Drew, back me up on this if you remember the Mid-Atlantics. I'm pretty sure that Angelo's son, didn't the Assassins beat the shit out of, or the Kabuki beat the shit out of his kid? Somebody beat the shit out of Mosca's kid, and he went on this fucking promo tirade for 3 months. So, believe it or not, Jenny, you actually hit the nail on the head. I think it had something to do with defending his kid's honor or something. So
it came across for me like I felt like he was like borderline, shoot fighting at points.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was, his main feud was with Ivan Koloff.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't see the angle where he got beat up. So I don't know if maybe one of Gary Hart's other henchmen, like Kabuki or someone beat him up. But his main feud was with Ivan Koloff over the Mid-Atlantic title. But he would cut these promos, not good promos, in '84, and he was not a very good wrestler either. But I actually thought he was pretty good here. I wonder. So I guess Ivan Koloff, he's like a real old school ring general, and I wonder if he was telling. Well, I mean, also Angelo Mosca, he's like an old vet. So between Angelo Senior and Ivan Koloff, I bet they were really directing things in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I thought he looked pretty good here. I was really surprised how much I liked this. I love Ivan Koloff. I love any match he's in, he gets beat up, which is great. Kabuki usually is very, very boring. I was expecting him to come in and, use a nerve hold or, one of those. They always have weird, if someone's Asian, they have some kind of nerve hold or something that they apply. So,
he has
the
no
guys
chucks, though.
but the announcers always put over, this mysterious man from the East or whatever. But he was throwing these good kicks, and he really looked and felt different and had different kind of offense. So, he was really good here. I thought everyone played their part well. Junkyard Dog, even in '84, he wasn't, he had kind of started to decline, but he got in and did his headbutts and everything and looked good. So I was really surprised how much I liked this.
Anybody else?
I was a big Kabuki. He used to scare the shit out of me as a kid, because unlike later Japanese guys like Muda or even like Chono or any of these other guys, Kabuki looked like some fucking dude that drove delivery trucks or something. He didn't have that chisel. He was just a big flab. He wasn't intimidating. Look, he slept at the bus station. But let me tell you something. He fucking scared the fucking shit out of me. His face paint was arguably the greatest Asian wrestler face paint ever. And yes, nunchucks kick ass. And he was actually a better wrestler than anybody gave the guy credit for. The Moscas were a fucking ugly family, that's for sure. But JYD was in this weird phase at this point. Back because he had left. I know he left Mid-South. He had dropped the North American title to, I think, Mr. Wrestling too, because they were trying to transfer it to Magnum TA.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was in between, but he's in New York by July, because I think he's on an August episode of TNT, I think. So I think this is just a pass through, to be honest with you. I think they just wanted to add a guy to the 6-man, because I don't think he's really in this feud or anything. I think it's just to get a good Southern pop from the crowd, because as we know, JYD was crazy over in Louisiana and Mississippi and the Mid-South territory. So he was obviously over here, and he actually showed up at times in World Class too. So he would show up in Dallas. So, I mean, I don't know if this was just because Crockett paid him a one-time lump sum to show up and do this 6-man. I'm guessing.
He was in a little bit. I think this was his first match, because let me see. So he wasn't on the TV before this. So this may have been his first match. But he stuck around a little bit. It would just kind of come in and out, and he was just kind of like a utility babyface, where he would help out Jimmy Valiant here or there, or he would help out Angelo Mosca Jr. or Mark Youngblood, or just kind of whoever needed a partner or something.
Actually, be honest, Drew, another guy we'll see later on in the show, one very near and dear to Jenny's heart, kind of had that same role in the territories in '83, '84, a different gentleman, son of a plumber, baby. Similar
right,
role, like JYD, kind of bounced around. We'll get to that towards the end. But anyway, I agree. But a good match, fun 6-man. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, surprise. I mean, I was really expecting like, oh boy, this could be rough. But
me too.
Yeah, it kept rocking, and yeah, on with the show. I don't know. This is, I mean, so far we're like, well, I mean, you guys didn't like the Ernie Ladd match, but it was also 5 minutes long or something. So, you know,
felt like 50.
Felt like Ernie Ladd's age at the time.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
you guys should go watch. It's on the network, and it might even be from '84. It's Ernie Ladd versus Magnum TA from Houston, and you'll get a little glimpse of the greatness of Ernie Ladd. Just what kind of a great heel he was. I mean, not athletic in the least, but
that's Mid-South?
At that point. It's Mid-South or Houston.
Well, they work with the Bosches because I think
it's like this
point. Yeah, because I think at this point Magnum was the North American champion.
Yeah.
All right, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really good. It's like 17 minutes long or something, and it's Magnum in Mid-South, so it's like this great baby face versus this real dastardly heel. I mean, it's awesome. And it's like a great example because, I mean, Magnum was real young at the time and hadn't been wrestling too long. So it's guys that are limited in two different ways, really making it work. It's really awesome. You guys should go check it out.
all right. Well, I think you were about to say that you were enjoying the show quite a bit. So far.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, 4 out of 4 matches for me, and even the Ernie Ladd one was 5 minutes. If you don't like that, so yeah, it's awesome so far.
You guys agree?
Yeah, minus the Ernie Ladd match, it's been pretty good.
minus the sweet toe music. It's been a lot of fun so far, but it's been very good. A lot of character development. I think guys like Tully were just getting going in the territory at the time, so the card's definitely been laid out very well, but clearly the best is yet to come.
All right. Quick question: do you feel like any of the matches could have been like really better served with commentary? Do you think? I mean, all can be, I guess, theoretically, but I mean, is there one that you think you might like more if it had the commentary?
That's an awesome question. I think the 6-man, because I think like again, astute on your part, Jenny, to actually kind of grasp the whole Mosca thing, because that was, again, as I said, that was the feud. So I think if you had Caudle or Tony there, or even that schmuck David Crockett who's announcing his fucking truth.
No.
Oh my God, overselling. Don't get me started on David Crockett. But
don't get me started on David Crockett, but in the opposite direction.
Oh God, no, he's no Tony.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. But no, I think that match. The other ones I think were fine, but that match, I think the 6-man might have helped a little because there was some story there. Like the first 3 matches, well, maybe the tag title or the
match. I was going to say the tag match. Yeah,
but so maybe the first 2 I think were fine because who the hell wants to listen to anybody talk about Ernie Ladd, Rufus Jones? The worst part.
Besides Drew, obviously.
Yeah. I think the 2 tags probably could have used some, but it didn't take. I'll say this, my opinion. I'm curious your guys. It didn't take away from the matches, but at least the 6-man probably we could have gotten a little better backstory during it. But it doesn't take away. It doesn't. It would have only made the match better. Let's put it that way. It's not making it worse.
Yeah, I would agree with that. With the 6-man, that's what I would have said. I mean, the other ones. I mean, Rufus R. Jones and Ernie Ladd aside, because there was no help in that pile of trash. But the other 3 were fine even without commentary. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah. I mean, the tag match and the 6-man were the ones where there was an actual feud going on. So, I mean, commentary always helps that, and especially if you can mention, like in the tag match, these teams have been feuding for months. They've been trading the titles back and forth, that kind of thing. That could have helped, but really, I didn't. all throughout the show, I didn't once mention or think about there being no commentary and wishing there was. You just kind of, like we talked about on the Crockett show, it's a different atmosphere that it creates, and it just kind of, you just buy into it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And you don't even notice it.
And I think the fact that the crowd was so hot through the entire night,
oh yeah,
as opposed to something like a Crockett Cup where they kind of peaked and valleyed,
right.
I think that made a difference with it too.
Mm-hmm.
I had a match later on in the show that I thought could really use some commentary, but we will talk about that in the second half after this break. So stick around and come back to the Boogie Jam.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Place to Be Nation's JT Rosero and Chad Campbell here. We want to let you know that we have over 24 podcasts available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and PlaceToBeNation.com. We now offer them to you on 2 great feeds. On the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed, we dive into topics running the gamut from today's WWE to the glory days of yesteryear and the ins and outs of the territory days. In addition to our full-length shows, we also deliver to you special pod blasts on topics old and new.
The Place to Be Nation Pop Feed is a veritable treasure trove of great content, offering tremendous shows covering the land of movies, television, life, comics, and sports, brought to you by the most knowledgeable and insightful folks in the podcast world.
You can find all these great shows, plus archives of our past podcasts from over the past 8 years as well by subscribing to both feeds on iTunes. And while you're there, be sure to rate and leave feedback as well. All of these shows, plus others, available on PlaceToBeNation.com, where we cover pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus in-depth search projects, and much more. Be sure to support our site by using www.PlaceToBeNation.com/Amazon when doing your online shopping. We want to thank our friends at Boneheads Wing Bar, ProWrestlingOnly.com, and HistoryOfWrestling.com as well. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. PlaceToBeNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Welcome back to Jenny and the Gems. We are here at the Boogie Jam. Before we get back to the jam, we're going to talk real quick about everything that's going on at Place to Be Nation right now. On our pop feed, the Hard Traveling Fanboys welcome WWE SmackDown referee Jason Ayers for a new series called Secret Origins. Jason delves into the similarities between comic books and wrestling, and he explains the stories and characters that have made him a lifelong comics fan. That's a great listen. On DC4U, Russell and Todd dive into what's going on with DC Comics right now in the monthly current events, and read listener picks for the best Justice League Unlimited episodes in honor of the show's 15th anniversary. Jennifer Smith, that's me, invited Nate Milton to watch Jordan Peele's Get Out on the 13th episode of Freak Out Drive-In. A really, 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 really fun podcast to do with Nate Milton, who is a gem himself. A brand new show joins the pop feed as siblings Kevin and Mary host the Brother Sister Rewatch podcast. On episode 14, they bring you The Office Season 2, episodes 21 and 22. I have become a fan of Kevin and Mary. I think they're naturals, and I think they fit in perfectly on the pop feed. They're, funny, and they're just kind of our speed. So I'm welcoming them to our feed. Have you guys listened to that one yet? You Office fans?
I have not had a chance to yet.
I've got it downloaded and queued up for tomorrow.
I have not had a chance to yet, but I look forward to it. I didn't even watch The Office, but I may listen anyway just for them.
You'll like it. It's pretty great. And, just tweet them or do something to encourage them after you watch it, okay? On a new Looking Forward, Looking Back, host Andy Atherton is joined by me, Jennifer Smith, Tim Capel, and you, Scott Criscuolo, to preview the upcoming fall and winter movie releases.
Yes.
You did a brief run-in on that one, but Tim and I
They
had
did.
to hang out with Andy all night.
Sorry.
Which was fun. No, we enjoyed it. It was a great show.
Yes.
On this episode of Marvel Age, our favorite Sarcastic Four take a concentrated look at roughly 1/3 of the most significant of Marvel's output throughout 1972. As a small screen companion to Pop Goes the Movies, enjoy the premiere episode of Pop Goes to the Couch, another new show on our feed, which will spotlight a current season from the worlds of television or streaming media. On the first edition, the third season of Glow takes the stage with your hosts, JT Rosero, me, Jennifer Smith again, and Tim Capel. So make sure you catch up on season 3 of Glow, and then you listen to that pod. It was a lot of fun to do. Once again, I am on this feed. Me and my bestie, Miranda, run down the comprehensive list of new and returning TV shows for the fall in the latest Geek and Sassy. That is number 35. We also announce a huge giveaway contest that we're doing. So be sure to listen to that episode and stay tuned to our social medias for the details on how to win a pretty cool prize. The greatest song of the 80s tournament continues. There will be 4 polls a day posted for round 3. You can get on the action and on Facebook by searching PTBN's greatest song of the 80s tournament and liking the page. And that way you can vote for your favorites every day. Let's see. Y'all want to vote for some stuff that happened today?
Would love to.
Yeah.
Great matchups today, yeah. All right, today's 4 matchups that Mr. Atherton put up, we have in the third round, we're in the Africa region, The Warrior by Scandal versus Super Freak by Rick James. I voted for The Warrior because number 1, the song's awesome, and B, it's always on the first episode of Glow, and that show kicks fucking ass. So I voted for The Warrior.
Warrior for me.
Yeah. What do you think, Suze?
Super Freak. I'll be the outlier.
Wow.
I voted Super Freak.
Wow.
You would think I would vote for that, but
I know,
Warrior
right?
wins for me.
Well, sadly, Jenny, we're getting creamed. It's 64-36 at the moment in favor of Super Freak.
Never doubt Rick James.
Rick James, bitch.
This was a tough one for me. We're not going to take it by Twisted Sister versus Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie. What'd you do, Jenny?
I guess I hadn't voted today, so I have to think. I'm going to go Queen, Under Pressure.
That's what I did. What'd you think, Drew?
I went Queen, too. I mean, we're not going to take it. Awesome song, awesome video, but, that Under Pressure,
It's epic.
can't deny it. Yeah.
Yeah, same. Under Pressure. No brainer.
To be honest with you, we're not going to take it. In my opinion, it's not even the best song on Stay Hungry, to be honest with you.
No, you're right. Title track's way better.
Believe it or not, last night, and I didn't even realize this, watching on a side note, we were talking off air, and I was saying that I watched The Exorcist. Linda Blair's character, you know what I didn't realize this is where Dee Snider got it from. You know what her imaginary friend's name was? Captain Howdy. I didn't even know that.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't even know that. Crazy.
Huh.
Let's
There
see.
you go.
That is the weirdest trivia I've ever heard in my life.
I know you like that. That was pretty awesome, actually.
It's like the Place to Be podcast over here.
Number 4 is Roxette with no. All right, next, what's the next one? Here we go. Eternal Flame by the Bangles versus Heaven by Bryan Adams. Almost the same song. Not really,
Yeah, pretty much.
Eternal Flame.
but... Ooh, I took Heaven. I love Bryan Adams. That's a great album, by the way, too.
Yeah, Eternal Flame.
I think I voted Heaven for this one.
It's a tight one. At the moment, Bryan Adams winning 51-49. Of course, you can also vote on Twitter, as Jenny mentioned. So, Andy adds up the votes, so it's a big deal. Here we go. Oh, God. Thank God certain people aren't on this show for this one. Fight for Your Right versus We Didn't Start the Fire by Mr. William Martin Joel. A lot of people are enjoying this result.
I'm one of them. Beasties.
Yeah, Beasties for me too.
Yeah,
Beasties.
you know what's sad? I actually I voted for.
What? You voted for what?
Can I change my vote?
What did you vote for?
He can't even say it. He's so disappointed in himself.
I know I am. Only because, believe it or not, actually, what's funny is the 80s is the best it was one of the best decades, if not the best decade of music. However, all of Billy's best stuff for me is in the 70s. So I actually voted for the Beastie Boys. But as much as I love We Didn't Start the Fire, tremendous song. But it doesn't matter because Billy's getting his ass kicked anyway. It's 62-38 at the moment. And License to Ill is arguably probably like top 5 of the decade of albums. So I did not vote for Billy in this one. If we did best song of the 70s, I would rig it, but that's a different story altogether. In any event. So yeah, there you go. So check it out. The PTBN's greatest song of the 80s tournament. More to come. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Mr. Atherton today, and we may end up doing like a pre-Final Four podcast down the line to kind of get ready for big brackets. Maybe Jenny could be on her 900th podcast if she'd like to join us for that one.
I'll have to check my schedule, sir.
Yeah, it's exactly. They're already layered. She's doing shows at 3:00 in the morning, so.
Two a days. 2 a days.
I did do 2 on Sunday.
Yes. Oh, I've done. Yes. Anyway, over on the wrestling feed, hey, Placement Nation's main event. That's my show. Episode 132. Myself and Mr. Milton, who's awesome, and Mr. Steve Willie, who's also awesome. Previews. We previewed this past Saturday's excellent day of wrestling. New Japan's Royal Quest. Of course, NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff, with you, Jenny, watched. And AEW's, of course, All Out, which everybody watched. Plus our New Japan Classic match picks, a couple of awesome Masachono matches. And then at the end of the evening on Saturday, myself, Jenny, Tim, and Nate. I mean, is that an incredible 4 horsemen anyway? Or 3 horsemen and 1 horsewoman? As we talked about AEW's All Out on the PTB Network special, the AEW All Out reaction show, complete with Chris Jericho belt theft, or whatever the fuck. Whatever that crazy bullshit
and bubbly.
Yeah, lots of bubbly. Anyway, check out the reaction show because it's awesome. So please listen to main event, watch All Out if you haven't, and then listen to our reaction show because we did a pretty damn good job under the circumstances, and I'm saying that very loosely.
We were all very loose on that show.
We were all very loose. Yes, that's for sure. Anyway, check it out. It's an awesome show. Ben Zanny welcomes Dan Scotti, promoter of Pizza Wrestling. That's a promotion. On the 21st episode of Row 1, Seat 1. Ben's an awesome guy, by the way. Jenny, we enjoyed him at WrestleMania drinking out of a jar, which is pretty cool. Yep. But Ben Zanny's awesome.
He is.
And on episode
I punched
number
him in
4,
the face.
You did?
I did.
Son of a bitch, you did.
He asked me to, which was odd, but I did it anyway because I was
drunk. That's right, you fucking did. Anyway, check out Ben. Row 1, Seat 1's a tremendous show. You know what else is a tremendous show? The Extreme 3-Way Dance. And the most recent episode dropped this week, episode 4. Jenny, you, my PIC, Mr. Rozzero, and Big Johnny D'Amato continued your ECW adventure with 3 episodes of Hardcore TV from March of 1994. I listened to it the other day. I must say, fantastic episode. So please listen to it. JR actually tugged at my heartstring in that episode. So please listen and you'll understand why. And check it out. By the way, I've listened to all 4 episodes, Jenny. Tremendous show. Please listen to it. Extreme 3-Way Dance. If you don't know jack shit about ECW, listen to the show. You will be educated.
Well, kind of.
Well, it depends on how you want to be educated. In any event, continue on. Placement Nation's great wrestling and pop feeds. Also, PlacementNation.com, 1994 tribute continues to roll on. Lots of great content. And, of course, every Wednesday, our good friend Glenn Butler with his weekly walk around the web. Check our social media pages and the message board, bigelow34.proboards.com, for information on joining our GWWE pay-per-view and TV match ever project, because I know Jenny loves ranking things.
Sure.
And get in on the conversation today. Come on, Suze. We need more lad matches. And
do we though?
Get in on the conversation today and start reading. There's no Ker-noodling matches because I don't know how much Don Ker-noodle was in WWF, but he was in a little bit.
He noodled around a bit.
Around. get into the conversation today and start researching your list because you will have until New Year's Eve. And then Deloitte and Touche or whoever the fucking voters are will add it up, and then we will have our master poll on PlaceToBeNation.com. So continue on. And there is everything going on at Place to Be Nation. Back to Boogie.
It's a lot, man. A lot.
Fucking lot. The name Jennifer Smith is all over this fucking screen right now.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's fucking awesome.
It's too much. Anyway, back to the Boogie Jam.
Yes.
All right. So here we go with the no DQ cage match featuring Dick Slater and Greg Valentine. Okay. Have you ever watched a boring cage match? Because this was a boring cage match. It was boring.
Oh. Damn, I hate disagreeing with you. Damn it.
Okay, change my mind. Go. Free for all.
Who wants to start? Scott?
I'll start. I'll say one thing, Jenny. I'll say one thing. This is definitely a match that could have used announcers.
Exactly.
I will say that.
That was my point.
No, I will say that. I will say that. However, I am not the biggest Dick Slater fan on the planet. In fact, I've been watching a lot. Again, continuing my Mid-Atlantic watching. His promo cutting is garbage. His matches are, they're okay, I guess. But I don't know if this is baby. Again, I haven't watched into the weekly TV into '84 yet. Maybe you can help me out here, Drew or Suze. So I don't know if Greg Valentine turned babyface. There's no doubt. We were talking about Bob Orton earlier. There is no doubt that the hammer's out the door very soon because he's pretty much Continental Champion in the next 5 months. So I don't know if this is just a farewell thing. I loved this match.
Really?
They beat the fucking shit out of each other.
Yep.
In the 3 minutes, they didn't have rest holds on each other in the middle of the ring and didn't use the cage. I mean, eventually they did, but
it's called pacing.
It took forever.
Pace themselves, and I think. But again, in your defense, Jenny, announcers would have helped kind of bridge that. Mm-hmm. That I will say that. But seeing babyface Valentine pre 1991 with his fluffy hair was actually pretty awesome. Again, I don't know the backstory of this yet till I start watching the weekly TV, but I had a blast watching this match. One of my favorite steel cage wrestlers of all time is Greg Valentine. He is, because first of all, he's a kind of a brick shit house and he'll take anything, but seeing him in a cage or any kind of stip like that is tremendous. I mean, I just recently watched the dog collar match yet again. I watched that match 1,000 times with him and Piper at Starrcade. I just thought they told a great story. And yes, it's difficult to watch a story like that in a match like that without announcers. But something about it maybe it was just Valentine being babyface. I don't know. I'll let you guys go. But I thought it was a fantastic match with a lot of violence. And admittedly, I will say that maybe the early stages of rest holds would have been better suited if we had announcers. I will say that. Announcers would have made this match better.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Scott, with everything you said. I love this. This is probably my second favorite match of the night. Just great punches, stiff forearm shots. Easy for me to say. Slater hits a brutal pile driver at one point for a really good near fall. Just great hate-filled brawl. And kind of interesting to see Valentine as a face. You don't really see that too much. And, I thought this was really great. Just if we can get back to, production for a minute. They had some, weird super wide shots during this match. It's like they were filming across the street or something.
My note says even the cameras are bored.
Wow.
Yup.
Wow.
Bored.
So I take it you didn't like this, Jenny?
I did not. No.
No.
The blood. I like the blood.
Blood.
I like the blood, and I like the spot where Dick puts his hand down Greg's pants and attempts to jack him off in the middle of the match.
Good Lord, I missed that part.
I guess I missed that too.
There are so many
He
great things
legit
about
had
that
his
fucking
hand-
sentence right now.
He
Jeez.
legit had his hand in his pants. Just saying.
Turn
Y'all
your
must have
hand
nodded off during that part, but
Dick had his hand in his pants.
he did.
Tremendous sentence.
off. Checking the oil. Checking the oil.
Yeah, so to answer your question, Scott, yeah, so Greg Valentine, he turns heel at the very, very beginning of '84 in an angle after a match, or involving, it's actually involving Roddy Piper kind of on the way out.
You mean turn face?
Yeah.
Face, right.
Yeah, sorry, turn face.
No,
So he turns face. There's I'm trying to remember because it's a little bit, it's been a while since I watched it, but they're gonna, I think Piper is supposed to have a match with Greg Valentine, but then Dick Slater comes in and he attacks Valentine, and that's what sparks the turn. And then they're feuding. From January all the way up until this match, basically. It's a little bit weird because they kind of go away from it a little bit, and Slater starts feuding with Ric Flair for the heavyweight title, for the NWA heavyweight title. So having the steel cage match and, essentially the blow up to the feud, after kind of going away from it for a little bit, it feels a little bit off. But I really like this, and I love a slow cage match where it kind of slowly devolves into, two guys on their hands and knees trading punches. Because if we're thinking about realism or whatever in professional wrestling, that's kind of what it would be like. It's not going to be this like super action-packed, high-paced, people climbing all over everywhere. It's going to be just grimy and slow and weird and bloody and uncomfortable to watch.
Are we here for the realism, though, Drew? For pro wrestling?
Listen, sister.
I'm
In
just
1984 in the Greensboro Coliseum, I'm here for the realism.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, this was awesome. I will say, Greg Valentine, kind of unnatural as a babyface. You're not getting like a lot of fire out of him, for instance. And it's these few months where he's a face, it's a little odd to see, but I don't know. I thought they teased the going into the cage pretty well. Once they did, Greg, doing the cheese grater against the cage there to Dick Slater. That one part where Slater is between the ropes and the cage, and then Greg Valentine climbs over, and so they're both stuck between the cage and the ropes. It's this very uncomfortable moment, and they're just kind of grabbing and punching at each other. It's I don't know. I thought that was a really pretty great visual, and just a very, very strange, uncomfortable moment, like I said.
Did they not check with each other to be like, what are you wearing tonight? Should I not wear the same exact thing that you're wearing tonight? Because they didn't get the memo.
That's funny you say that because I don't think, at least Greg Valentine was had a little more variety in his tights in Mid-Atlantic. Pretty much in WWF, when he gets there later in the year, he pretty much wears blue for like the next 7 years. Well, no, not really. Probably by 90 he starts wearing other colors. But yeah, I don't think Dick Slater ever wore anything else. I think he had one pair of tights. He wasted his money in Mid-Atlantic because I think he pretty much only wore blue. He might have wore red occasionally, but I think that's funny that they both wore blue. It's funny you mention that because you don't see that very often.
He spent all his money on Confederate flags and skull.
Yes. Wouldn't work now, that's for sure.
Oh my god. All right. So that trash match out of the way.
That was unnecessary.
This is what everybody wants. This is what everybody's here for, right?
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
Oh, no. Sorry, Jenny. The Jimmy Valiant match is not right now.
You're right.
She wants to go right to Big Guth.
We will agree on that later. Right now we have a 60-minute match with Ric Flair versus Ricky Steamboat. And so, yeah, it goes an hour. And I'm familiar with the trilogy of matches from 1989, but not to the point where I can make comparison to those matches, so I won't. What I will say is that this match fucked me up. It was like an experience. And I don't know where you guys would rank it versus the trilogy of matches, but it was amazing. Like, even this match needed no commentary. They know each other so well. They're wrestling soulmates. Like, they have that magic that I haven't seen very much at all. And Rick looked so good. Like, he was so fit. And because usually, like, the stuff that I love him from, he's a little bit, he's older, he's pudgier, and, but he was just built and quick and dirty and fantastic. And Ricky, I mean, he looked fucking amazing. And just classy, and worked so damn hard to try to pin Rick. It took everything that he had, and Rick kept putting his fucking foot on the bottom rope every time that he would get him pinned down good enough, because the near falls were just numerous. I mean, just all over the place for an hour, basically. But the 3 spots where Rick put his foot up on the rope, I laughed every time. He had perfect timing in getting out of everything. It was a beautiful ballet of awesomeness. And I just, it was not just something that I watched, it was something that I experienced. And I'm jealous of everybody in Greensboro who got to watch this on this night, because it was everything. It was amazing. It was 5 stars. It was 1 billion stars. I loved it so freaking much. Okay.
So this is because I know that you do not generally like a draw.
I don't.
For a finish.
I don't.
But
You're right.
but this passed the test, huh?
This is the only one that I've seen that I will. Well, the ECW match was. I let it go a little bit, but I can't rant about this draw at all. Like, I can't. It was perfect.
And the finish to it was perfect, too.
Everything was perfect.
Yeah.
I just, I can't say enough. I wrote, I think Matt said he wrote a bunch of notes, but, it was just glowing. I mean, what can you say bad about this? Find something. There's nothing. It was perfect.
Yeah, so you guys know that I don't, I make a point of not taking notes while watching, wrestling for a podcast. I did break my no-note rule, and I did take notes on this match. We got the boss man, the PTB and boss man on, so I wanted to impress him by taking notes here.
Your email alone
you shouldn't have told him that.
The email alone has already succeeded in my eyes. And your life experiences, clearly.
Oh, dear. Yeah, man. I don't know how to compare this to the other ones, to the 89 matches, for instance. I mean, did you guys have you guys seen the other 1984 match from Night of Champions?
No,
I have not.
Okay. Yeah. So that one is awesome too. I think this one is a good amount better than that. Yeah, man. You hit a lot of it on the head, Jenny. I mean, the first 30 minutes essentially is just a headlock.
Yeah.
And to say that that sounds in a lot of people like, oh man, it's a headlock. They're working a headlock for 30 minutes. But they are so good at working a headlock, and there's so much. It's not like a rest hold. Like, oh yeah, they're working a headlock. It's a rest hold. They're moving and they're positioning and they're flexing and they're grimacing and they're going for pinfalls and everything during this 30 minutes, and it makes it so compelling. And you know, like you said, Jenny, about Steamboat's pinfalls. One of the notes I have on here, you know, him trying to pin Ric Flair, is he might be the best wrestler ever in a pinfall situation, either on the bottom or on the top, because he's always, if he's getting pinned, he's always moving and he's always trying to kick out. If he's pinning, he's doing things like in this match, you know, you'll watch him and he's trying to pin Ric Flair, but he's got himself at such an angle where he's got his entire, you know, upper body and his shoulders pushing down on Ric's torso, you know, to try to keep him down. I don't know. I really can't say enough good about this, especially that first half. If I had any complaints, I guess, you know, after the first half, it kind of ramps up a little bit, and I realized that, I mean, Ric Flair, obviously, he's like the greatest of all time, but you know, sometimes I actually don't find his offense to be super compelling, and sometimes it loses me a little bit. But and this, I guess, if I had any complaints, that would be it. But I don't know. I mean, I could talk for forever about this. There's just like, I'm kind of looking through my notes, and I mean, you know, I'm not going to read off everything, but you know, one thing that stood out here. There's a couple things. First of all, they do that classic NWA title match thing where someone will be working a hold, and what they always do is they work a hold and then they work into it a few pinning attempts and a few near falls in order to put over the hold, as you know, a serious threat. And so they did that here, which is like, I love when I get to see that. I don't know, just and something that this match has easily above the other 84 match is the way, because at this point, both Flair and Steamboat are baby faces, and Flair is firmly a baby face in 1984. You know, after 83-84, you know, beating Harley for the title. And so he's been feuding with Dick Slater. Dick Slater stole he actually pinned and beat Ric Flair in a non-title singles match. And then later they had a title match. Slater stole the title, and he was going around claiming he was the NWA World Champion. But Flair, you know, Flair's solidly a face here, as is Steamboat, of course. And so you see at the beginning, it's, you know, they're shaking hands. They're real friendly with each other. It starts out this real sporting contest, and you see the slow degradation of their respect and their friendship over the course of the match.
Right.
And they do that with those handshakes. And so, you know, they do a couple restarts and they'll shake hands, and then, you know, again, about halfway into it, there's like a little bit of, you know, Flair just can't get anything over on Steamboat, and he can't get out of that headlock. And so he starts to get a little more angry, and then they start having that grappling contest again that's much more heated this time around, and it's a little grittier and scrappier, and then slowly it turns, and then all of a sudden there's a moment where Flair, he reaches up like he's going to punch Steamboat in the ropes. And then it just kind of goes from there, and it's like, man, I mean, that's so good. Just that level of storytelling, this kind of overarching theme, and then you have these little mini matches in between that, where you've got, you know, the Steamboat headlock, you've got Flair trying to get a suplex on him, you've got Flair then slowly working the back, working the stomach and the ribs. Steamboat's on the bottom. He's, you know, just all this stuff. This was awesome. Like I said, I don't know exactly how to compare it to the '89 ones, because it's such a, you know, different wrestling world and all that. But I mean, this is a great match.
It was beautiful, wonderful, amazing. What do you think, Matt?
Drew kind of stole my thunder there. He hit on like every major point.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. Just
we're all here for the gushing.
Shows that we're simpatico. So
yeah.
But yeah, like he said, I thought the match, and maybe lacked is the wrong word, but lacked in exciting action, it more than made up for with the great storytelling. With, Flair selling his frustration throughout the match where he just can't figure out how to get out of this steamboat headlock. Mm-hmm. And excuse me. So I thought that was really good. And I thought the hour flew by, to be honest. Even with that first 30 minutes where nothing really happens outside of a headlock, mm-hmm. I thought the hour just flew by. But if I had to compare it to the 89 series, I don't think it touches the 2 out of 3 falls match. I don't think it touches the Wrestle War match. I might put it close to or maybe even ahead of the Chi-Town Rumble match right now.
Interesting.
I think that's fair.
But I'd have to rewatch it again. I haven't watched that match in a very long time. But yeah, just great match.
What do you think, Scott?
Well, I mean, you're talking about obviously Ric Flair is number 1 on my list of the greatest that ever put boots on. The funny thing about trying to compare Flair and Steamboat throughout history is that they're always in different layers. It's very hard to talk about the 89 matches because there was a clear creative line in the sand, no pun intended. Flair was the clear heel in 89 with all the, escorts or whatever the hell, the women around him, and Steamboat was the married man with the little, with the son and everything. So there was a creative line in the sand during those 89 matches. But here, he hadn't turned yet. He hadn't started the Dusty feud yet. So Flair was still a face. He was still 5 months since beating Harley at Starrcade, which is one of like my 5 favorite matches ever. So the story here is just 2 tremendous athletes. Arguably, you're looking at 2 of probably at the time 2 of the 5 best workers in the world, outside of guys in New Japan and a couple guys in WWF and other territories. But starting this match and the next 60 minutes is a story of Flair realizing I really can't do like what I do in other territories and try to cheat. I'm a babyface, but I'm facing Steamboat. I don't know what to do here. I don't want to pull the tights. I don't want to gouge the eyes. I don't want to put a thumb in the throat. Mm-hmm. What the hell do I do here? That was the fascinating story. I don't want to say that this match needed announcers like the cage match did. But I do think that somebody in our ear describing Flair's frustration might have added even more. Again, we're talking Flair and Steamboat. We could hear nothing. They could wrestle out here in the parking lot, and they'll give us 4.5 stars minimum. Flair's frustration made this match so amazing because Steamboat, greatest babyface of all time. And here's Flair trying to scratch his head and figure out how the hell am I going to beat this guy who clearly is my equal around these 4 walls of ropes. And as the match progresses, it just gets more frustrating, and Flair shoves him at one point, and Steamboat shoves him. There's a little jaw-jacking with the ref. So I have to say that these 2 guys did an amazing job of telling the story without needing the announcers. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not. I will say this to you, Jenny. This match didn't need the announcers probably as much as maybe you think the cage match did. Because Flair and Steamboat are so fucking good at telling us what's going on without somebody in our ear telling us what's going on. And as this hour progressed, and Suze, you hit the nail on the head. It felt like 10 minutes when I watched it today. And you can tell draws. You knew 40 minutes in, this match is ending in a draw.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Unless Flair, because right now Flair's not at the heel mode yet, so we're not going to see any tights pulled, and Steamboat's not winning the belt. I mean, he could have. He could have, but I doubt it. Not a show that's nondescript with no announcers and no national pub. Although it is 84, so it could have happened, but something tells me no.
And they weren't even feuding really at the time.
No,
it was just like a one-off,
Yeah, no, great point, Drew. So it's all about painting the picture. And you're talking about two guys who are absolute Picassos at painting a picture, no matter how long the match is. And it's funny, Suze, and you were talking about you haven't watched the 89s in a while. It's funny how you're talking about creatively two different matches in essence. And Flair, even though he was a heel in those 89 matches, gave Steamboat his begrudging respect. Whereas here, the respect was already there, but the frustration was not till about half an hour in. And then you're seeing Flair shoving him and God damn it, what is wrong with you? Why can't you just lose? It's crazy. So this is just another example of why this guy is the greatest wrestler in the history of the business. Because he can toe the line on being a fantastic heel without really turning heel. No one is that good at doing that, except one guy, Ric Flair. And that's why this match is awesome. Because he towed the line, but he didn't cross the line. And that's what makes him great. And Steamboat's just fucking Steamboat. He could wrestle a napkin to 3.5 stars. Right. Seriously.
I thought he was, as much as I love Rick, I was super impressed with Steamboat. And with the classy handshake at the end, I'm a sucker for that. And I mean, it just capped it off just perfectly for me. And the crowd, oh my God, how they didn't know who they wanted to win either. It was split. Everybody just loved both of them so much. Rightly so.
You know what's funny? Biggest crowd reaction for an abdominal stretch I've ever seen.
I want to make a point about draws. If give me a few seconds, because I know Jenny, you hate draws.
I do.
And TV draws blow. And I've heard you mention it on the Extreme Three-Way Dance that TV draws suck. And trust me, Justin and I have watched our share of shitty draws on MSG house shows and seasons.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, man, Scott,
we've watched
about a draw or two.
We've watched some great draws and we've watched some garbage draws. But you knew, even halfway through with 30 minutes left, you knew this was going to be a draw and you didn't care.
That's true.
Right.
Just paint the picture for us. Tell us how you're going to get to the draw, and we're happy as pigs and shit. And that's exactly what Flair and Steamboat did. You knew, number one, Flair was not going to pull any tights or anything. And number two, Steamboat, I mean, he could have pulled the title out here. Probably not. But to paint the picture like that is just amazing. I was so thrilled to be able to watch this match for the show tonight because I watched this match. It's on the Steamboat DVD set. And it's been a long time since I've watched it. So today was a treat when I was able to watch it. To paint the picture of two guys, two baby faces, and that's not easy to do.
No way.
And even in 1984, it's not easy to do. Imagine now. Just great storytelling from two absolute pros. Absolute pros. And it's one draw, you go, fuck. But that's still okay. Whereas normally, and you're right, Jenny, when you hit the nail on the head about TV draws, you're like, oh, God almighty.
This is the only draw that I will allow ever for the rest of the time. I can't imagine liking anything.
You're right.
More than this.
Yep.
Well, I say that, and then you have our next match, our last match. And I was like, I don't even know if I want to watch this. Like, I'm kind of in this like wrestling high, after that, and I'm like, okay, why is there another match? Like, what are we doing? And then I see Jimmy Valiant with Dusty Rhodes and Assassin number 2, with Paul Jones, and they tie Dusty and Paul Jones together with some sort of bullwhip or some shit. I was like, what? What are we doing? Huh? And then I got distracted for the rest of the match just watching Dusty be tied to this dude. Because, oh my God, Dusty's black jacket was fire. He looked amazing.
With no shirt underneath.
No shirt.
that outfit was so fucking Dusty
It
right
was
there.
so beautiful.
Totally.
That fucking off more than Mr. Rhodes.
And I was so jealous of one Paul Jones, because who would not want to be tied to Dusty Rhodes? I mean, really.
Oh my God.
But yeah, some shit happened in the ring. I mean, there was a lot of blood. A guy got his mask ripped off because it was a hair versus mask match, which totally makes sense. All that happened that mattered was that Dusty was like just dusty and all over the place. He stuck his tongue out at the end after they unmasked the assassin, which I thought was wonderful. And I love this match. Come on, Drew, back me up.
I mean, this is great news, Jenny.
Good.
Great news.
Good.
So this was, I mean, we just had Ric Flair versus Ricky Steamboat, but this was truly the match that the show was built around. I mean, it's called the Boogie Jam.
Yes.
And I mean, this whole show was set up to have this match, and everyone on TV talks about, Ric Flair's talking about it, Dusty Rhodes is talking about it, everyone, Junkyard Dog, whoever, everyone's cutting promos. I guess JYD's after this, but whatever. But everyone's cutting promos about Jimmy Valiant finally getting a chance to get an Assassin number 2 in this mask versus hair match. And as a side note, they call the show, so it's listed as Boogie Jam here. Some people call it the Boogeyman Jam. Some people call it the Boogie Woogie Jam. It's a total mess. But it's obviously the true lineage of WCW, where 10 years later you have people calling it the WCW and the WCW Monday Night Nitro, or the WCW Nitro or Monday Nitro, and no one can decide on one word. But I mean, this really was the biggest feud in the promotion at the time. So Jimmy Valiant got his beard cut by Paul Jones and the Assassins real early on in the year, early January, and he cuts this absurd promo about how he has 7 daughters, but 2 years ago or 5 years ago he finally had a son, and he's been growing this beard ever since. And now he can't look at his son. His son doesn't know who he is because he's had his beard shaved off. And his son, he's estranged from his son now. His son won't look at him, which is, of course, totally insane and silly. But it's like, I mean, and Jimmy Valiant is so over in the Carolinas, And so, and like we talked about on the Crockett Cup show, this is the feud that lasts, 3 years essentially, or 2 years or something. But no, it's almost 3 years, because it starts the beginning of '84 and it ends like Starrcade '86. So it's almost 3 years, and this is like the first big match. So you have all building up. You have Paul Jones carrying around Jimmy Valiant's beard in a bag and showing it off.
Good Lord.
Jimmy is so disgraced and he's so upset, and he ends up at one point he teams with Dory Funk Jr., which, I mean, talk about the wildest, most divergent tag teams in the world. Dory Funk Jr. and Boogie Woogie Man Jimmy Valiant, the exact polar opposites of wrestling. But you finally have this match where and Jimmy's been asking for this match. He's been asking to get at one of the assassins, asking them to put up one of their, put a mask on the line or something. And so he's finally got one assassin, and now he can move on to Paul Jones or something like that. The other assassin. It's just, I love this feud. This match is awesome. I mean, it's 8 minutes long. It's exactly what you think. Oh, not even that. It looks like 6:52. It's exactly what you think it's going to be. It's Jimmy Valiant. He does punches and he does a dance and an elbow drop, and that's like all you need. He bleeds. He bleeds buckets
so much.
And something else. I mean, say what you will about Jimmy Valiant, but he adds such a great level of variety to a card where, I mean, you just had the World Heavyweight title match, this like incredible sporting contest between these two great athletes. Now you have this total freak show coming out with there's a bull rope and there's a masked man with a masked assassin. There's Dusty Rhodes. Him and Paul Jones are arguing. Yeah.
There's a hippie dancing around the ring for some godforsaken reason.
there's
a beardless hippie.
with tights that say stars and stripes.
Yes. Oh my god.
It's like it adds just such this great contrast and such a great dynamic and variety to a wrestling show. I mean, this is awesome. Jimmy Valiant is so cool. Man. What a man. What a match.
Come on, Matt, give it up. You know you loved it.
I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean I loved it.
Sure.
But I didn't hate it. It was fine. It was totally fine. I mean, like, Valiant bleeds buckets. I mean, it was a good way to send the crowd home happy. But, a lot of good brawling in it, and I'm as shocked as everybody else should be that I didn't hate this.
Now, okay, so why does the assassin get to wear a mask, and that's fine, but a gimp can't wear a mask, and that's not fine?
The gimp does wear a mask.
I mean, Jimmy Valiant should have been wearing a mask with that pussy hat
Jimmy
on.
Valiant's a gimp.
Good lord.
And now, did you guys recognize who assassin number 2 was?
I didn't. I was going to ask you guys who that was.
I did.
Who was it?
Scott.
You don't know, Jenny?
No.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Assassin number 2 would be the future one half of the tremendous tag team known as Power and Glory. That is Mr. Hercules Hernandez.
Oh, well.
There you go.
Don't I feel like a moron now?
Watch a little wrestle. Well, we were avoiding it. We were hoping you'd just nod. But,
yeah. Well, whatever.
WrestleMania 2. Oh, God. Why did I just pick that out of air?
Yeah, really.
Really? Jesus. Just better Hercules than that.
All the fucking shows to pick.
Hercules.
Yeah, all the fucking shows to pick. You picked the one with the weird Wendy's lady on it.
This was a fine match to end the show. First of all, Dusty. Do we really have to go any further?
No.
I mean, no.
Nope.
The way this show is going, I hate disagreeing with Drew. I love heel Jimmy Valiant. I despise babyface Jimmy Valiant. He's in that like Duggan Bushwhackers era for me. I fucking hate babyface Jimmy Valiant. Having said that, if he wants to siphon off Dusty's heat or Dusty's babyface shine, that's fine with me.
Oh, listen, that is the other way around, brother. Dusty. That is Dusty trying to get the rub, my friend.
What?
Wow.
What?
There are some fights in right now. It's no way.
I believe I said earlier I wanted to be tied up to Dusty Rhodes. So, just saying.
I like the. Well, it's It's a bull rope. I like the way he said it, like Dusty tied up with a bull rope. But that's a different
I'm saying he can tie me up with the bull rope. I can tie him up with the bull rope. I mean, fun will be had either way.
Anyway, Dusty was just leaving Florida, so he was pretty much ingrained in Crockett at this point. So, but he was doing some shots all over the place. He was in Florida, but he had done a couple of things in Mid-South in '83. But I think at this point he was pretty much full blown Crockett. This feud has been going back, Jesus, a year probably between Valiant and Paul Jones' Army, although he hasn't really called it an army yet, I guess. And we had seen Hercules. I don't know what the fuck his name was in Mid-South, but he was in Mid-South for a little bit. I can't believe, I don't think they called him Hercules. I don't know what the hell his name was in Mid-South, but he'd been floating around. Good way to end the show. Obviously, you're not going to have as much as Flair Steamboat shaking hands at the end makes Jenny happy, and it is a fucking amazing match. Back in the 80s, of course, babyface wins because that's what you do. This match had to be last because you wanted the mask being ripped off.
Right.
So it had to happen. That's how the 80s works with those shows. It was fine. It was fun. Paul Jones is a tremendous manager, and he was the top manager in the company at this point, so he's getting all the heat. And it's fucking Dusty, man. It's the gold standard. So, you know, what the fuck? It's Dusty. So, if there was no Dusty, I'd be like, I'd have shut this fucker off already. Today I watched it, and I'd have turned it off after the Iron Man and moved on, or after the 60-minute match and moved on. But to see the Dream in, tied to Paul Jones, yeah, I'm all in Greensboro. I mean, look, being objective, Drew, Valiant is a draw. I'll admit that.
Yes.
Not my cup of tea. I liked him better as a heel with all of his goofy brothers in late 70s WWE. But having said that, he was a ticket buyer or ticket seller, I should say, in Crockett at this time. So him ending the show is fine for this purpose. I don't know how. I'm looking forward to when I continue watching the Mid-Atlantic TV, how far the Assassins go now that one of them has been unmasked. But be interesting to see from here on out. But Dusty, it's the Dream, baby. It's all that matters.
All right. Well, let's do a couple little awards here at the end just to wrap everything up. I feel like we've all been pretty clear about our feelings, but most favorite match, I think that's pretty obvious. Flair Steamboat for me. What about you, Drew?
Yeah, Flair Steamboat.
Anybody have anything different than Flair Steamboat?
Negative.
Absolutely not.
All right. Least favorite match. Yeah, that's going to have to be Ernie Ladd versus Rufus Jones. You agree there, Matt?
Oh, yeah.
All right. What about you, Scott?
Oh, yeah. No, it's a shame. Poor Rufus. But, yeah, worst match of the night.
Drew?
Yeah, I mean, I liked the match, but compared to everything else, yeah.
All right. MVP. This is harder. My heart wants to say Dusty Rhodes. But I'm going to go Steamboat for MVP of the night. What do you think, Scott?
Oh, fucking A. There's MVPs all over the place. Rufus no, I'm only kidding. Anything involving the Flair Steamboat match, they have to split it.
Split?
That's a two-way dance. You can't have one without the other. So I have to go with both of them.
All right. What do you think, Drew?
Boy. As much as my heart wants to say Jimmy Valiant, I don't know. Steamboat, Flair was pretty unreal. I found myself really drawn to Steamboat in that match. Yeah, I gotta go Steamboat. I mean, we didn't even really get into like just his perfect selling, just gradually throughout the whole match, getting worn down and everything. There's not enough good to say about Steamboat. Special shout out though to Tommy Young for only taking one bump.
Tommy Young.
Only one match had a ref bump. It truly shows where the promotion is at the time versus where it was going, I guess.
What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I got to go with Scott. I got to go with both Flair and Steamboat. You can't have one without the other.
That's fair, too. All right. Some highlights. This is just like random, things that you loved or wanted to talk about. As much as I did not like that cage match, the little jerk-off spot there of Greg Valentine was pretty great. Rewatch it and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Not the bleeding, but the bleeding of something.
I've just never seen that happen before. Okay, anyway. I mean, I have, but not like in wrestling. Another thing that I loved was Dory Funk's pop that he gets from the crowd, because I wasn't expecting it, and it was just they were just so ready to watch that man wrestle, and it blew my mind. And of course, Dusty's everything that literally everything that he's ever done in his entire life is a highlight of the show. What are your highlights, Scott?
Oh shit. Well, the Iron Man. We can't call it an Iron Man because it wasn't technically booked as such. That entire match from beginning to end. Gary Hart's weird fucking flash dance leotard, which we pretty much saw what he is. That and Dusty just breathing the same air as everybody else as well. Dusty just makes everything better. You know what I mean?
All the time.
I'll say Dusty's presence, Gary Hart's fucking leotard, and from Chicago, like anybody gives a shit. And seriously, like Chicago, like anybody in Greensboro gave two fucks. And probably the iron and the draw. Just everything after Ernie Ladd is gold.
Right. Well, kind of. All right, Matt, you said you were going to wing it, so what you got for highlights?
Yeah, I'll go with Flair Steamboat, and like Scott said, everything after that travesty of the Rufus R. Jones Ernie Ladd match was really good. And just a couple things on my notes that we didn't mention. The friggin' hard camera on this show drove me nuts.
Oh my god, yes.
It was off center and crooked. It was setting off my OCD.
Yes.
Oh my god, I was ready to throw something when I first turned the show on.
Oh yeah, there was definitely jars of moonshine being passed around.
Oh my god.
To keep people warm in the March of Greensboro.
Turn the camera 5 inches to the left. That's all you have to do.
Son of a bitch.
Gosh.
There's some other good camera shots, though. That I think, Jenny, you had mentioned earlier. There were some pretty good badass camera angles elsewhere.
Yeah, and then there were some terrible ones.
Yes.
But I'd love
the Wile E. Coyote cam they were shooting from across the street.
Yeah. And then they do the picture-in-picture thing at that last match where it's like you're kind of watching the ring, but you're mostly watching the little box that has Dusty and Jones in it. So that was
all of a sudden they found the technology for that in the main event.
In the middle of it. It's just like, oh yeah, we could do this. Look at this shit.
What's this button do? Oh shit.
That is what it felt like though. All right.
Actually, I have a couple of trivia factoids here, if you will.
Lord. All right.
So earlier in the day, Ric Flair wrestled in Atlanta at the TV taping. He wrestled some schmuck named Pat Rose. So presumably he wrestled in Atlanta and then got on his private jet and flew to Greensboro for the night show.
Amazing. What a man. And
then 3 days later, on March 20th in Wellington, New Zealand, Ric Flair would lose the World Championship to Harley Race.
Huh.
Yep. That's one of the Phantom switches, right?
Right. And then
there's a fuck ton of Phantom changes like in 1984 all over the fucking place.
Yeah, because he loses to Kerry Von Erich like the next month or something.
And then they would say that Flair would regain the title 5 days later in Singapore.
Wow.
Looks like Pat winning the IC belt in somebody's basement.
Yeah,
Brazil.
in Rio. Somewhere in Rio de Janeiro.
Tijuana.
Y'all, if I had been a wrestling fan in 1984 and of legal age, I would have like multiple Ric Flair children. You know, I'm just saying. I would be like.
And then there's other wrestlers you wouldn't even never.
I would be like Queen Ring Rat of the world.
What's a bigger shirt, Queen Ring Rat, or Dory Skunk? I don't know, or maybe both.
I mean, you should make both. You put one image on the front and one on the back, and
that is true.
And just title it Boogie Jam.
Boogie Jam.
When you think
Boogie
about
Jam.
it, a skunk kind of is a stinky rat. So
that is true. You know, really when it's gotten around.
Oh. All right, Drew, bring us home. What were your highlights?
Highlights were Tully Blanchard's performance. I thought he was awesome, close to MVP level. Jimmy Valiant's blade job.
Yes.
Where he blades and he's laying on the ground and you just see his blonde hair slowly turn red. Not even slowly, quickly turn red. And Ric Flair's entrance, they actually use part of that entrance when it shows him walking out of the dressing room for years to come in little promo vids of him.
Yes.
But also, you know, so he's the only one, and I don't know if this was dubbed in on the network after the fact or what, but, you know, they play the 2001 theme. And they do it, speaking about camera angles, on the final da da da, they cut to different farther away camera angles for each one, and so the last duh is that super far away shot, like at the very back of the arena.
Shooting from somewhere in Virginia.
Yeah. Pretty great. I love those, you know, I love Territory's attempts at production value.
All right. Well, that has been the Boogie Jam, and I gotta say, I loved it. If I was gonna grade it, I'd give it probably 8 out of 10. It's fucking good. I really, really, really liked it. Would recommend highly. If nothing else, I mean, if you're not into any of this other stuff, just at least watch Flair Steamboat if you haven't. Definitely worth an hour of your time. All that being said, let's plug some stuff. What you got going on, Drew?
Let's see. The last You Don't Know Billy Jack, found on the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed, came out a few weeks ago. I believe that was Tenryu versus Jumbo Tsuruta, the June '89 match. The next one coming out, whenever that happens, will be, I believe that's a potpourri episode where we watch a couple different matches, and I can't remember which ones. So it'll be a surprise to me as well. But again, that is on the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed.
What about you, Matt? Got anything going on?
Well, every weekend you can check out the weekend playlist. It's music videos for your weekend listening pleasure. And if you're so inclined, you can follow me on the Twitter at msouza1991.
That's not your birth year, is it?
Yes, it is.
Oh my God! All right.
I'm sorry. I can't help when I was born.
You're right. I don't want to young shame you or anything. What about you, Scott? Can I old shame you?
Oh yeah, sure. Everybody could young shame him, but not all. Yeah, right. I can't control my age, but nobody gives a shit. But anyway,
right.
Well, clearly, Jenny, I'm on as many podcasts as you are. No, but plenty of shit on both feeds. This coming week, my PIC and I will be doing the next episode of the Place to Be podcast, where we will do the December 89 MSG house show. And we have a returning guest, a guy that hasn't been on in quite a while. And then someone on this show is joining us for the one after that. I don't remember who. Anyway. And then next week we will be having a new main event where we will be previewing Clash of Champions, which is next Sunday. Speaking of, I think it's in the same state that this show was, right? Isn't Clash of Champions in Charlotte? I believe it is. So we'll be back in North Carolina next Sunday for modern day wrestling. And we will have our next TNA pay-per-view classic recap. So plenty of stuff coming up down the pike. So feeds are full.
Yes, I won't go over all of my shows again because we already kind of did that. So anyway, just pull up the pop feed or the wrestling feed and you'll find my shit all over there. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Jenny Cruz 2814. And all of our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook pages, Twitters, just everywhere. Thanks for listening to Jenny and the Jams. I had a blast. Thank you guys for joining me.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
They make good pets, supposedly, right?
Skunks?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, if you have like a separate house.
No.
Well, yeah, I thought you're supposed. It's like you get the glands or whatever, the stink glands removed, and they're supposed to be like cats or something. Is that true?
Dude, we haven't even started recording. This is already my favorite show ever.
You know what? If I had a pet skunk, you know what I'd call him?
Peppy?
Dory Skunk.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, wow.
Is this being documented for prosperity?
Oh yeah, I'm rolling. I've learned from the master, my sensei, the PIC. Always roll the minute you start saying something, even if you
Put
don't
it
start.
put it on the 1000th episode blooper reel.
That's good. Well, you can have a skunk legacy. Dory Skunk Jr., they have children.
That's gonna be her epitaph. Dory Skunk and fucking snakes.